I was going to make a video today about using subliminals to, I think, manipulate the subconscious minds of, our kids, which is what I was going to make this video about. And this article came out today in the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, April 6th. And this is about 100 years ago, back in 1913, that this woman, Emma Case, and this article, by the way, Exploring Our Past, Inspiring Our Present, which is what I'm going to be talking about. This woman, Emma Case, was the first social worker, and that happened right here in Rochester, New York, and it was in 1913. There you see it. 1913, the school board superintendent, Herbert Weed, agreed upon the need of a specialist for troubled children. And look what he says. But first I want to tell you, 1913 is very important to know what was going on in the United States at that time. In 1913, the 16th Amendment was created, which created the personal income tax and allowed the government to tax basically anything and create taxing authorities to do that, which they've done, as you all know, as a taxpayer. It also created the IRS, which was known as something different at that time, but it was essentially the IRS, which was essentially a private corporation to come and collect personal income tax that, to pay for the interest on the national debt, because what was also created, and this is the most important thing in 1913 in the United States, was the Federal Reserve Act, which privatized the banking system in the United States to private bankers, and then put money out, which we use today, called Federal Reserve notes. And that happened in 1913. But look what he says. He says, "It's undisputed fact that outside the school are to be found forces which will oftentimes thwart the school in its endeavors." And think about the Common Core today. I mean, that's a perfect example of when, hey, you know what? If things aren't right, that's what's supposed to happen. So yes, that's true, and yes, it should be true, especially if things go off kilter. But I want to, go point this back, at the beginning of this. Exploring our past, inspiring our present, and you need to know what happened in 1913 because it's critical to what's going on today. But I want to go to the last sentence or the last paragraph in this article and tell you that this is a warning, I think. And what this person said, and this person who said it was Brown Ellis, in her review of Emma Case here in Rochester for this basically what's turning into social work. She says it's always been easier to cage adolescence than to convince it, she wrote, but no educational system worthy of the name can be satisfied with so stupid a solution. And now think about that with what I'm going to show you next on how I think they're doing that very thing, trying to cage, the adolescents through, basically the subconscious mind and manipulation of the subconscious mind. But what I'm going to show you, you have to decide for yourself. Okay, to show you how I think our kids are being subconsciously manipulated, I'm going to use these things you see on your screen mainly, but other things as well. This here is a curriculum called Angleland that the kids drew these pictures based on Angleland and angles, but you can see these are pretty much the pyramids of Giza and obelisks, disguised, I think, as Angleland. This is Word of the Week, and I'm going to show you that this Word of the Week poster here, which is a Remedia publication, depicts, I think, things down here in this ancient depiction of Quetzalcoatl. I'll show you that there's actually similarities between these, some of the angles or the depictions in here, as well as the wording of this. I'm going to show you a book that is available through the Scholastic Book Club, called Geronimo Stilton, The Journey Through Time, Pyramid Puzzle. I'm going to show you Miley Cyrus with her tongue out, who I think is depicting Quetzalcoatl, who is depicted here with the tongue out. You can see the little horns. And over here, this is Liberty Square, I think they call it, in Kiev. And this is a rally. And they happen to see this, and I want to talk about the letter M, which you can see right there, I think. And today, as I'm getting all this ready to bring to you, ancient Egyptian stuff, pyramids, and all of this, I'm helping my son with his homework today, and he comes home, and the question on the paper was, write each fraction as a sum of unit fractions. I look it up, and guess what? Guess what? The sum of the unit fractions is also known as Egyptian unit fractions. And I'm like, wow, I just thought that was really interesting. That happened today as I'm getting ready to make this video about the subconscious, because there was nothing on that math that made any reference to the sum of the unit fractions being anything to do with Egypt. I want you to see the M in Kiev. That M is pretty interesting being there, because there's literally no other letter shown anywhere except for this big M in the middle of Kiev in this rally they're having. And wait till you see what else is around it. Here you go, the Egyptian unit of fraction. There's the sum of the unit fraction. Here I am, I come up, what is it? I look it up on the internet and it comes up Egyptian, everything, ancient Egypt. There it is. Back in about 1985, when I was at RIT, I gave a talk about subliminals in advertising and how that affects the subconscious mind. And after I gave that talk, my professor came up to me and said, the subconscious mind, if it doesn't like something, it'll reject it at the subconscious level. And I said, well, if it'll reject it at the subconscious level, then I'm sure it's able to also accept it at the subconscious level as well. And we left it at that. But I want to show you that this is a school project for the class called Angle Land, and they were supposed to draw angles, which they were supposed to, allegedly be mountain peaks, which I think is not mountain peaks at all, but the pyramids of Giza, disguised under Angle Land as mountain peaks. And I think that's really proven here by this obelisk, because where you find pyramids, you find obelisks. And here we have an obelisk, and you don't find obelisks where you find mountain peaks. You see that? Obelisk, pyramid, obelisk, not mountain peaks. So this is how they are subconsciously, or one way they subconsciously get into the mind, the Great Pyramids of Giza, okay? So I'm going to give you a close-up here of this. There's Angle Land. You can see they call it Angle Land, and that's a class in school. And there's that book, Pyramids of Giza. You look at that and you tell me, does that look like mountain peaks, or does that look like the Pyramids of Giza? You be the judge. I know what I think it is. But anyway, like I said, I gave that talk about subliminal advertising and how it might affect the subconscious mind back in the 80s. And, had that discussion with the professor, and I'm thinking, what I see here is a lot of acceptance. I mean, look at this. And by the way, You know, this isn't just angle land. This is beyond that. This is how, look how they depict the sun, Re. Okay, drop the Y, that's Ra. The sun god Amun Ra. And this one even had hieroglyph type things on the obelisk, which was pretty interesting. But, you know, right here, you know, is an obelisk. But like I said, the subconscious mind can accept it, like some of these really good ones, and, you know, the subconscious mind can also reject it. And that is what I think this one is depicting, and is literally a rejection of what's going on in the subconscious mind. And this is interesting because this one depicts it as a living house. A living house. And notice X pattern and the crosses. We're going to see that a little bit later on a Quetzalcoatl emblem. And I think that's kind of interesting. But look at the pyramid over here, kind of the stung sticking out, kind of mocking it. You know, I look at that and I see literally the subconscious mind mocking the pyramid right there, okay? And then you got the sun wearing sunglasses, kind of making a joke of that. And again, living sun, living house, living pyramids, which, you know, I think, you know, going back, if you look at ancient Egypt, I think that stuff is kind of living. I mean, it's, you know, we'll find out a little bit more about pyramids and obelisks, but I think there's a lot more to them than people think. So I think this is really interesting. It looks to me like they are getting, you know, people ready for, I'm thinking, the age of Aquarius, because I believe, you know, that's what really the ancient Egypt reemergence has to do with, is the age of Aquarius. The poster that's in the schools. This is the book, Geronimo Stilton, Pyramid Puzzle, Journey Through Time. And I wanted to show you this because these wows, to me, links this book to that poster. And it's important because what I'm going to show you with this poster that links, I think, the symbols on this poster to an ancient deity called Quetzalcoatl, who, you know, it's tough to say, you know, how he's linked to ancient Egypt, but they say he is. So I think that's interesting. But I also want to show you the M that I talked about and how prevalent the M is in the page in this book, this particular page. You have mouse mover, which is, you know, has the M. And then over here, you have miles and miles. So they're doubling up the M, kind of promoting that M subconsciously, I think. And I'll show. Okay, I'm going to link the double M's to the word of the week. But I'm going to focus in on the actual word of the week there. So that's that page of the word of the week inside of it. And as you can see, on the word of the week, you also have the double M. And I'll focus in on that a little bit more, where it says multiple meaning, MM. So now you have this doing the double M, another subconscious link. But I also want to show you another link. See where it says upper elementary there? Ancient Egypt actually has an upper and a lower Egypt. That's ancient Egypt right there in the middle. And as you can see, it has lower Egypt, and then below that, upper Egypt. And yes, upper Egypt was lower. But you know what? Who's to say, you know, what's up or down? Who's to say, you know, the North and South Pole, what's really, you know, up or down in the realm of everything? Which is how these people thought, you know, back then, I think. So anyway, Upper Elementary, Upper Egypt, another subconscious link to Egypt. And the interesting thing about this one too, it's just amazing how things were syncing when I'm doing this video. But the word of the week for this week that I took this picture is aqua, water, or what have we been saying? The age of Aquarius. So this particular week happened to hit and even link the age of Aquarius to the whole thing. So there you have it. I think this is all subconscious stuff, you know, and done on purpose. And when I say done on purpose, I don't mean that the local administrators and teachers know this. I doubt it. I think they're given these materials to display, you know, and they basically do, you know, what they're told to do, and it's done, you know, not at any particular one school or school district, but this is, you know, countrywide, probably worldwide, through organizations like the United Nations. But anyway, now I'm going to link the WOW poster to Quetzalcoatl. I also want to show you this. You see this slowly right here? Where it says slowly, and you got all these W's right here, okay? That W's, to me, is a symbology for the age of Aquarius. There you go. See, this is the Aquarius symbol, you know, like water. And that is huge because nowhere in this book or on this page does it equate ancient Egypt or the pyramids, which I think are even predating Egypt. I think they're actually not ancient Egypt. It's beyond that. But they're, with that in there, that's subconsciously connecting the age of Aquarius to the pyramids and what they're depicting here as ancient Egypt. And I think that's huge because, like I said, the age of Aquarius is not mentioned in this book. It's only a subconscious link, okay? That's what I'm talking about when I say the subconscious mind. And I think Quetzalcoatl is, like I said, linked to all this stuff. Now I'm going to link the WOW Word of the Week poster to the Quetzalcoatl, I don't know if you want to call this an emblem or a seal. And I'm first going to start with this wheel right here. And notice these lines intersecting, and notice how these patterns set up with these V's, or whatever you want to call them, pyramid things. It's the same pattern. So I'm going to take that and draw yellow lines on that one. You can see I just drew lines through the pyramids, we'll call them. And then there's the wheel on top. And as you can see, it's the perfect match. And I did this on Google Earth, by the way, because I can overlay these and I can, you know, put the opaqueness, you know, from 0, you know, to full, and kind of show you that that pattern is the same pattern. Perfect lines up. And this is on Google Earth, so there's some curvature involved, so it's a little distorted, but you can get the picture. It's the same exact pattern, okay? So it's a link, a subconscious link from this poster to Quetzalcoatl. Right there, Quetzalcoatl. And remember, what I was talking about with this pattern here, I mentioned in the angle land that what I was calling a subconscious rejection of what, you know, what I think is going on, you know, in education, you know, obviously is somehow being linked to ancient Egypt, you know, subconsciously. And there you go. See the pattern on that house right there? And again, you know, X and then up and down, same pattern. you know, X and then up and down. The next connection I'm going to make between these two is this swirl right here and right here. I'm going to blow that up for you. That swirl here on Quetzalcoatl and this swirl here on the word of the week. And here we go. See that? It's a perfect match. Perfect match right there. Let me just kind of flick this for you. See that? Link. And again, I'll do the opaqueness, give you even a better view of that as it can come in and out. Perfect match. Which, like I said, I think you know, the subconscious can make these links subconsciously and not know it. But you know, the question is how does that affect you? And like I said, when I did the talk in RIT 30 years ago almost, you know, I always wondered that too. It's tough to say, but it does affect you. It affects decision making. If it affects, you know, if you hear something, how you might think about it. You know, how your subconscious, you know, interacts with your conscious and how your thoughts develop, I think can be affected by this. The next link I'm going to make is this pattern right here to this area right here. And I'm gonna flip this upside down to do that. And here you go. It's that area right there. I'm gonna focus in right in on it, blow it right up, and see that? See the circles? And that swirl pattern with the kind of pyramid in the middle there. Right there. Let me go back out a little bit. And I'll do this on the opaqueness. And you can see that matching right up there. So you got three things off that word of the week that are matching up very well with Quetzalcoatl. You know, there you have it. I guess what you want to say about that is wow. But I also want to point out too is now, you know, you see this upside down and now you have a lot of these M's again. Okay? And you know what we were mentioning about the M's in both of these posters. Okay, and you know, to get into the subconscious, they need to support it, you know, with something that is appealing to them. And usually that's done through entertainment, the music industry, Hollywood. And if you remember, but if you've seen, I'm sure you have, Miley Cyrus running around with her tongue stuck out, very much like this guy, Quetzalcoatl. And pay attention to Quetzalcoatl's two nubs here, because as you remember, Miley Cyrus, she's got those her hair, you know, basically pulled up like these two nubs, look just like it. And I'm going to show you that. You know how wild that Quetzalcoatl and Miley Cyrus reflect each other. There's Miley. I'll give you a good close-up of that and show you her because she is depicting Quetzalcoatl. See the hair? Let me it's a little better here. See the two balls here that she's got her hair in, the tongue out? See that? And Quetzalcoatl. And Miley Cyrus. And that is who Miley Cyrus is depicting to, you know, these kids, is who she's depicting is quetzalcoatl, and again, subconscious. They don't come out and tell you that. And I'm going to also, well, when I get into the obelisk part of this, this is going to make a lot more sense why Miley Cyrus is doing this. But there she is, quetzalcoatl. The next thing I want to talk about is the letter M and what that might mean that we see in Kiev, and the M is also shown up a lot of other places. But this is a book called The Magic of the Obelisk, Obelisk by Peter Tompkins. This is a great book. When I found out about the obelisk on Hill Cumorah in Palmyra, the site where Joseph Smith met the angel Moroni, and I found out I lived within the radius of that obelisk, which was just around Christmas time of this past year, 2013. I figured I better read up on what these obelisks are about, and so I got this book, and I highly suggest if you live in Webster, Monroe, or Wayne County, you also live in the radius of this obelisk, and you may want to get this book. But anyway, what I wanted to show you mainly on this book was the M, because he mentions the M in this book, and I think it has to do with what's going on today. And as you can see, what he's saying here is, and I'll record this if you want to read all of it, but he's saying is how to communicate with elementals so as to govern the hidden forces of nature and open access to the realm of angels. Back in Germany with the mysterious Book of M, he is reputed to have founded a brotherhood originally inspired by Thothmes III to give to European society the light of and knowledge of the mysteries of Egypt, and so speed the doctrine of tolerance and brotherhood of man. So very interesting about the Book of M, and maybe exactly what's going on. And I'm not going to read all this to you, but I'll record the rest of it in case you want to read it. I do want to point out the last paragraph, though, in this, where it talks about the Book of M. And it says at the bottom here, the objective of the brothers is to described as a liberation of humanity from ignorance, disease, and poverty. Their hope was to bring about a spiritual awakening of society to extend human faculties beyond the physical plane into what would later be described as the etheric, astral, and spiritual worlds, reaching up to transcendental plane of illumination. And that's the Book of M, and I think these are the reasons you're seeing it everywhere. This organization or whatever, may be coming to light here because they're bringing ancient Egypt with them. We talked about a lesson my son came home with the other day called Sum of the Unit Fractions, which I said I had to look up, and it described as these Egyptian fractions, some of the unit fractions. But pay attention to what they depict it with, the Eye of Horus. And the Eye of Horus is actually a depiction of the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is extremely important in the coming age of Aquarius, or fifth age. There you see it as the Eye of Horus, and that's the sum of the unit fractions. That's what the Egyptians used it for, that type of stuff right there. They were into patterns, very mathematical, geometrical stuff. But I want to show you what subconsciously that links it to. Because the pineal gland is depicted as the pine cone, okay? all of this stuff, these pine cones and these ancient hieroglyphs and in the Catholic Church and on the Pope's staff are all depicting the pineal gland. But what they call it is an epiphany. But you have an epiphany through the pineal gland. So that is a very subconscious link right there to all of this, okay? That sum of the unit fractions through the pineal gland of Eye of Horus, that's what that depicts, through these pine cones, which depict an epiphany, which happens through the pineal gland. Well, once again, timing is everything, and this opinion came out in the Democrat and Chronicle, Rochester, New York, today, the day I'm making this, April 12th. This is out of the opinion page, and it kind of has to do with what I'm going to be talking about on this education thing. And this is from a guy named John Bliss, and what he's asking here is two students with the same backgrounds take exactly the same path in school. One drops out, one goes on, to bigger and better things. And then down here he asks, adversity and baggage that accompany poverty can overcome something or someone sparks the student in a positive way. Something or someone. And it says this is usually not accomplished through a brief encounter or some powerful but momentary interaction. Now, think about this, some powerful but not momentary over the course of a long period of time, but powerful, okay? He's asking why, and he's mentioning powerful here. And this next thing that I'm going to tell you and show you is going to fit right into this, is what he's asking. But also, he's saying here, in summary, schools need to do a much better job of addressing the social, emotional, physical, and moral development of young people. And I can't disagree enough with that. That is the last thing we need. We need parents to do that. And if we leave this up to the school, I'm going to show you this country is in big trouble. It's already in big trouble. But if we surrender, okay, this to the public school system, then I'm going to show you who you're surrendering this to, okay? Just like he asked, why and what is the power? Okay, this is also in the paper today in the Speaking Out section, which was also where that article from John Bliss was. But here I want to point out, do you see those black robes right there? Okay? Judges wear those, Supreme Court judges wear them, graduates wear them, and the other people who wear robes, maybe not black but different colors, and certainly black are some of them, are priests. And you need to, and what I'm going to show you next, you need to see that. You need to understand the black robes that graduates wear, the black robes that judges wear, and robes that priests wear, because it all has to do with education and what I'm going to tell you next. Okay, now the next thing about schools, courts, and churches is what I'm thinking is going on here, and there's a lot of evidence to this, and wait till I show you what I'm going to show you after this. Is schools, courts, and churches are controlled by this cult of Saturn, okay? Now this cult of Saturn, like I said, they're represented by the black robes and the mortarboard. And, as you see here, when you graduate from high school, you come out processionally with a black robe, black for Saffron, the god of the Hebrews, requiring that you wear the square mortarboard on your head. The square mortar boards are, of course, used by Freemasons for their plaster, so that is why you wear a square mortar board when you graduate, ultimately become an alumni. It all has to do with Freemasonry, Cult of Saturn, all these secrets. I'm going to show you here too, here's the graduates, black robes, here's the Catholic priests, black robes, here's judges, black robes, okay? Now, I'm going to just scroll this down, so if you want to read the rest of this, you can do that. But the next thing I'm going to do, because I know right now you're thinking, oh my gosh, the schools, cults of Saturn, satanic, masonry, oh my gosh, I can't believe any of this. Here's, by the way, a talisman. But what I'm going to show you next, I think, is going to prove that what this website says is absolutely true. That there is a cult of Saturn, and it is controlling the schools, the churches, and the courts. And there's a talisman for it, one of them. These are the symbols for the cult of Saturn. You got the sun, the moon, and Saturn. Which really, Saturn is the cold planet and is known as Satan. But I'm going to show you that the cult of Saturn is, in our area, and I'm sure others, is connected to the courtroom, the courthouse, churches, and schools. And there is some type of Saturn satanic influence on our school systems, and people need to know about this. So we're going to start, where they derive their power from, and that is Hill Cumorah. And they've placed an obelisk on Hill Cumorah. And it's amazing how many people don't know this. I didn't know this until Christmas time. This past Christmas, 2013, when I found out about this thing. And when I found out about this thing, I've known a little bit about obelisks from reading them in the past. And, what they were made for back in ancient Egypt. And they were made basically to accommodate the sun god Ra, okay? So I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to pick one school. I'm going to show you two schools, actually. I'm going to go to Fairport High School from the obelisk, and we're going to take a measurement, okay? We're going to take a measurement to Angel Hill, okay? This is Fairport High School on Aralt Road. This area here is what's known as Angel Hill. And when those 5 girls from Fairport, those cheerleaders, were killed in that crash, they all migrated to Angel Hill, okay? Now let me show you Angel Hill, because go to miles, and as you can see, to Angel Hill from that obelisk on Hill Cumorah, it is 11.11 miles, okay? Right there it is, 1111. Now, I'm not going to get into all the meanings of all these numbers, but 1111 is the number of spiritual ascension, okay? And to have that on Angel Hill, is bizarre, very bizarre. But I'm going to show you another measurement that is involved in Fairport High School to a different part of the school. And over here, into that part of the field, it is 11.22 miles. Okay? 11.22 miles to that point in Fairport High School. So from the obelisk to Fairport High School, you have 1111 and 11.22. Okay, those numbers, you can do your own research, but I can tell you 1111 is the number of spiritual ascension, and to have that Angel Hill, which angels do, they ascend, I mean, that's just totally bizarre. But that's not it. That's the school connection, one of them. Okay, now we're going to go to North Church on Hudson Avenue in Rochester, okay? And we're going to go to North Church, and here it is right here. And we're going to place that cursor right dead center to this rotunda on the church, okay? Boom. What do we get? What's the distance from that? And this is still connected to the obelisk on Hill Cumorah, okay? And to North Church, from that obelisk, you have 22.22 miles, which is exactly twice the distance from Angel Hill, right? Which was 1111. Okay? Now, there's the church connection. And believe me, the other ones, are connected too. That church, other church on Hudson Avenue that has the stained glass window of Tomasz Kachowska is 22.66 miles from the obelisk. Okay? Now we're going to go to the Monroe County Courthouse. Okay? We're going to see how far that is from the obelisk. This is the Monroe County Courthouse right here. And this grid right here was just put on the building in the last 2 years. I think it was somewhere between 2012 and 2013. Not sure what it is. I'd be interested to find out. I don't think it's a solar panel because it's not angled in any way. It's just straight up. But anyway, there's the Monroe County Courthouse, War Memorial, Monroe County Prison. Here's the distance to the obelisk, and it is 22.11 miles, okay? Now, Fairport High School was 11.22 miles, the opposite of that, okay? Read about obelisks in history. They can be used for some very evil things. Very evil things. And, you know, so we need to know, you know, is this country evil? Is our school system, you know, basically run by the forces of evil? Because they're definitely run by the forces of secrets. And to me, I associate secrets generally with evil. As I talk to people about this, and they shut down. It's like their mind shuts down, and they sit there and tell me all they want to do is have fun. Well, you know what? That's what's being pushed on you people by the music industry. Miley Cyrus, all you want to do is have fun. Nothing matters, have fun. That is what the Cult of Saturn wants you to do. Webster School District is connected to that obelisk on Hill Cumorah, and it is ruled by the Cult of Saturn, okay? Webster, your school system, as well as every school system in this country, is run by a cult. A cult. Okay? And here we go, because I'm going to freak you out right now. Webster. See this? This is Spry School, okay? I'm pretty sure this was the first high school, and it was shaped like a W at the time. This is new. It was basically this section here, and it was shaped like a W, okay? Now, the W and the M have 5 points, okay? If this was a W, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? 5 points. And that is a link to the pentagram. But here is Spry School, and I'm going to show you this geometry right here, because these cults love their geometry, and they put things in like obelisks, and they put geometry around it to somehow give it power. Okay, here it is. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to overlay onto this the obelisk on Hill Cumorah and see how it matches up. Okay, there you go. That is the obelisk on Hill Cumorah, and I can mess with the opaqueness of this. Okay, that's the obelisk on Hill Cumorah, and that's without it. Okay, now notice the circle. They love their circles, and I'm going to show you a Saturn talisman that proves that. Okay, look at the geometry, 45 degrees, and now just look at the geometry at Hill Cumorah. Look at that. It fits perfectly, doesn't it? Look at that. Woohoo, Webster. Love it, don't you? An obelisk that fits right there. And this is the district office for Webster School District, okay? There you go. The obelisk fits perfectly right on your sidewalk. Okay? That is not an accident. That is by design, okay? And now I'm going to show you a distance, okay? I should have probably showed you that first, but I'm going to go back to the obelisk, and I'm going to show you the distance from that obelisk to dead center of that circle that sidewalk formed. And I'm telling you, that sidewalk is not there. It is there by design. You'll never get anybody to show you that. If you go do a foil for, the plans of that sidewalk, all you're going to get is the plans for that sidewalk. They're not going to tell you the purpose that it's in this fashion, okay? But I'm going to show you the distance from that obelisk to dead center of that circle, and I'm going to do this in nautical miles, okay? Because it's nautical miles where the number is important. And there's the distance from that obelisk on Hill Cumorah to dead center on that circle, which fit perfectly with that obelisk, and it is exactly 15.15 nautical miles. And the nautical part of it, I think, has to do with the age of Aquarius. But anyway, there's 15.15. And the significance of that with the Cult of Saturn is the Cult of Saturn has three important numbers to it, okay? And those numbers are 3, 15, and 45. And in numerology, the 15 reduces to a 6, the 45 to a 9, and it is 3, 6, 9. But the 6 part of it is derived from the 15, and if you look at this 15, 15, and you numerology it, it's 6, 6. Okay? 6, 6. Now, I'm going to show you the Saturn talisman, and I'm going to overlay that on that sidewalk. Okay? This is the talisman of Saturn, okay? You see the 3, the 15, and the 45. That's what I'm talking about. There's the 15, and that circle is 15.15 miles from that obelisk. And again, that is not a mistake. And try getting anybody to show you that, and they won't, but I will. But anyway, there's a talisman, and I put that there to show you this geometry because it's all about these little circles, okay, on Saturn, and what is depicted by these various things. But you know, look at the geometry of the circle and this pattern here that fits right in there. And like I said, this is not a mistake. That 15 is important. It's the Cult of Saturn, and it is in a 15.15 alignment with that obelisk on Hill Cumorah, Spry Junior High School that I went to. I walked right from my house in the village of Webster to this thing and never knew I was walking into a cult. I want to talk about this M and W a little bit more that I've mentioned a few times and go back to this article in today's paper from John Bliss. And look at that right there. You see that M in that picture? That says Monroe County, but believe me, that picture was chosen because of that M. That is done on purpose. And I want to show you too all the M's and W's of the names of the towns around Hill Cumorah. There's Hill Cumorah, and then you have Macedon. Go up a little bit, you have Walworth and Marion. Go up a little bit more, Williamson. And by the way, Wayne County, W. And you go over here, you got Webster, of course. And then West Webster, which isn't shown there. And then, of course, over here, you have Monroe County. Starts with an M. So the two counties that this obelisk goes through starts with an M and a W as well. And, of course, it goes through other counties to the south, too. Ontario County and I think it's Orleans or Seneca County, but I'm concentrating on more on the counties north. But interesting with the M and the W. This is Peter Thompson's book, The Magic of the Obelisk, by Peter Thompson. And I want to show you what he said about the obelisks in a lifetime of researching these things, okay? And I'm going to read this to you because it's very important that you get this whole thing. He feels that this book has been the culmination of a lifetime of research into the wisdom of the ancients. In pursuing the story of the obelisk, he encountered the murky worlds of witchcraft, voodoo, demonology, and the darkest recesses of the human mind. In the end, he discovered that the ancient Egyptians used the obelisk as a symbol for manifest divinity, and magic as the means for communing with it. And this now by the article that started this and was in last week's, 1 week ago, last Sunday, the 6th, April 6th, and exploring our past, inspiring our present, which is what I put this together for you. I gave you a little bit of history. An undisputed fact that outside the school are to be found forces which will oftentimes thwart the school in its endeavors. It's always been easier to cage adolescence than to convince it, she wrote.
But no educational system worthy of the name can be satisfied with so stupid a solution.